after Yudhishthir Maharaj inquired from Bhismadeva about different religious principles. Then, after instructing him, Bhismadev is requesting Lord Krishna that, Bhismadev saw that now sun has entered in the northern hemisphere. So he was waiting for that time period to leave his body. Now, today, we are going to discuss about how Bhismadev left his body. So that's what we are going to discuss. So, in the verse number 30, we discussed yesterday the Samvritya Giram Sahastrani Vimukta Sangamana Adi Puruse Krishna Lasatitapate Chaturbhuje Purasthite Amilita Rugyatharayat. Thereupon, that man who spoke on the different subject with the thousands of meaning, the fought on the thousands of battlefield, and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking. And being completely free from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him, forehanded, dressed in yellow garment and glittering shine. So this is how we should leave the body. Prabhupada in the purport, he enlists the verses from 8 to 15 of Bhagavad Gita. So we have discussed that part. So in the momentary hours of leaving his body, material body, Bhismadev set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form life. So the subject matter which addressed the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. That's what we have seen in Bhagavad Gita 8.5, right? Yam yam vapi smarane bhavam tejati ante kalevaram tam tam eveti kunte sadata bhav bhavita. So anta kale cha mamya smarane yukta kalevaram. So that verse he says, Prabhupada is quoting at what, so we discussed last time, at what, whoever at the time of death with his body remembering me alone, at once attain my nature, of this there is no doubt. He says, whatever state of being one remember when he quit his body, that state he will attain without fail. That's why Krishna instructed Arjuna. Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, at the same time carry out your prescribed duty. Tasmat sarvesu kalesu mam anusmare yuddhecha mano anrita mano buddhir mam evasyusi tu panteya. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter verse number 7. Then he says, he who meditates on the Supreme Personality of God and his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as one who knows everything, as he is oldest, who is the controller, who is the smaller than the smallest, who is maintainer of everything, who is beyond all the material conception, who is inconceivable, who is always person. So basically, here it is mentioned that we should meditate on Krishna. The one who at the time of death fixed his life and between the eyebrow and in full devotion engage himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Basically, all those things are. So he says, for one who remember without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prutha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. And after attaining me, the great soul who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. So Bhismadev attained the perfection of quitting his body at the will. He was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. So although Bhismadev was unable to move, but Krishna personally came there. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him, and he wanted to see Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was pure devotee, he had very little to do with detailed performance of yogic principle. Simply bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. So all those things, Uttarayana and all those things, focusing on eyebrow, all those things are for yoga, but for bhakti yoga, it's not required. Simply bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhismadev was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object. By the grace of the Lord, Sri Bhismadev had this opportunity at the last stage of his preaching. This is also by the mercy of Krishna possible. It's not that, we perform devotional service, so Krishna is uh, here, bound to appear. No, Krishna has his swarat. He is supremely independent. He can do whatever he likes. Although he may go on performing devotional service thousands of years, but if Krishna doesn't want to appear before you, that's his will. Says so. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, right? That what he says there, I forgot that particular verse, but he very nicely says, yes. Naham prakasya sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudo em nabhijanati loko mamajmavi. I am never manifested to the foolish and intelligent, for them I covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn, infallible. Krishna has that right not to appear in front of anyone. So that is his free will. So in the next verse he says, Suddhaya dharanaya hata subhas tadiksaye vasudata yuddha srama nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas ushtavajanya visucha janardhanam. So by pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was free from all material inauspiciousness. He was constantly, after stopped talking to Yudhishthira and everyone, he was just meditating on Lord Krishna. By constantly meditating on the Krishna, he was free from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pain caused by the arrow wound. And thus all the external activity of his senses at once stopped, deprayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. So, yeah, so material body is the gift of illusory energy. Yeah. So, identification with the material body is due to the forgetfulness. Anyway, I'm not going to discuss here. So, for pure devotee, Bhismadev, this illusion was at once removed as soon as the Lord arrived. So, when we are in front of Lord, all illusion will go away. Then Bhismadev says, the Bhisma Uvacha iti matir upakalpita vitrushna bhagvati satvat pungave vibhugni swasukham upagate vachi vihartum prakruti upeyusi yad bhava prabhava. What he said, Bhismadev, that let me know now invest my thinking, feeling and willing, which were so long engaged in different subject and occupational duties in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. This is the thing that we should engage. Of course, Bhismadev has the Ichha Mrityu Vardhan, so he can do it his will. But we don't know when will we die. So we should always engage our thinking, feeling, and willing in all-powerful Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay? He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotee, enjoyed transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created. He is self-satisfied. He doesn't require to do any activity. Nothing is required for him to do. But still, sometimes being the leader of the devotee, he enjoyed transcendental pleasure by descending to material world. So he comes here to give a pleasure to devotees. Okay. Then he says here, Tribhuvana kamanam tamala varnam ravi kara gauravara ambaram dadhane vapura alaka kula rutta anana jam vijaya sakhe ratir astu me Anvada Anavaditya. So these are the prayers by Bhismadev. Yes. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjun. Vijay Sakhe. Vijay Sakhe means friend of Arjuna. Vijay Sakhe. Okay. Yeah. So he says, Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body. So now he is glorifying Lord Krishna again, offering the prayers, which resemble the bluish color of the tamal tree. Okay. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary system: upper, middle, and lower, heavenly planet, earthly planet, and hellish planet. Okay. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with print painting of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive result. So this should be our Bhismadev is setting an example. So we should also always think of Krishna. Whatever bluish color, holding a peacock feather on his head, holding a flute in his hand. Tribhanga Angani Yashya Sakalendra Vrittiman. Angani Yashya Sakalendra Vrittiman. Pashyanti Panti Kilam. Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Chala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusam. Menum Kanantam Aravindalaya Taksa Bharavatam Samasitam Sudha Sundaram Sandarpa Maniya Vishesha Sobha Govindam Adipurusam Tamam Pacham. What is that verse? Tribhanga Lalitam. What is that verse? Anyway, I forgot that verse from my side. Tribhanga Lalitam. So, anyway. So yeah, so Bhismadev is meditating on the form of Lord Krishna. Okay. So then he says that Yudhituraga Rajo Vidu Umra Visva Kacha Lulita Mavarya Alankrutasya Mama Nisita Saratir Vibhidyamana Vachi Vilasat Kavache Astu Krishna Atma. So then he is glorified on the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship. The flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to dust raised by the hoof of the horses. Okay. So now Bhismadev is narrating that what kind of form he has observed when he was on the battlefield. Bhismadev was so lucky. Now Arjuna was behind the Krishna, whereas Bhismadev was in front of, was always seeing the face of Lord Krishna. So Bhismadev is narrating, Lord Krishna's hair was, ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses. So when horse walk, chariot, horse carries the chariot. Every time so much dust raised, and that dust was decorating the hair of the Lord Krishna. So Bhismadev is saying that, on the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended, okay, the Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna. So his hairs are scattering. They were not tied properly. They were scattering. You can, nowadays so many ladies, they keep hair open. So that kind of Krishna is also kept. Okay. So their hair was scattered. Flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoof of the horse. So Bhismadev is narrating, how wonderful form is it. So then he says, and because of his labor, so what happened? Of course, dust was there, but because of his labor, bead of sweat wetted his face. Abhi, thoda pata nahi, Kartik to shuru ho gaya, but still we are feeling hot and you get sweat. But he's saying that on the battlefield it was hot sun, and because of his labor there was sweat coming out of his face. Okay. So he's narrating that bead of sweat was there on the wetted his face. All this decoration. So this is a decoration. Bhismadev. This is a decoration. All this decoration, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrow, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go on to see Krishna. So, and then he says, okay, his hair were ashen by the dust raised from the uh, uh, hoof of horse, and his face was decorated by the sweat beads which wetted his face. Okay, so all this decoration intensified by the wound dealt by my sharp arrow were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go on to see Krishna. Okay. So Prabhupada writes so nicely the purport. It's so long, but if you read this purport so nicely, okay, I'll not read fully. Okay. So he says that the next verse is Sapadi Sakhi Vachoni Samya Madhye Nija Parayo Balayo Ratham Niveshya Sthitavati Parasainika Yu Rakshana Rutivati Partha Sakhe Ratir Mamastu. He says, in obedience to command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldier of Arjuna and Duryodhana. So Lord Krishna is so glorious that he accepted the command of his friend to become the order carrier of of Arjuna. So that he narrating that how it is wonderful. Krishna is so great, although he is Supreme Lord, but because of friendship he accepted to become a command carrier of Arjuna. Okay. So he entered the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there, he shortened the lifespan of opposite party by his merciful glance. And this was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Sri Krishna. If Sri Krishna wants, it doesn't require this so much battlefield. You just have to desire, all the enemy will be killed automatically. Okay. So here, right, the Lord diminished the duration of life of the opposite party by his merciful glance. It is said that all the fighters who assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained the salvation by personally seeing the Lord at the time of death. Therefore, is diminishing the during of life of Arjuna's enemy does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. So we have seen Naham, what is that? Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Yona Deshtina Samepriya. So Krishna is not envious of anyone and is not partial to anyone. He's equal to everyone. So that's what he's writing. That the Lord diminished the duration of life of opposite party by his merciful glance. He said that all the fighters who assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained the salvation by personally seeing the Lord at the time of death. So although they were acting as an enemy, they were fighting as an enemy, but since they saw Lord Krishna at the time of death, they left their body in the presence of Krishna. They attained the salvation. Okay. Therefore, is diminishing the duration of life of Arjuna's enemy does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. Actually, he was merciful to the opposite party because they would not have attained salvation. By dying at home in the ordinary course of life, here was a chance to see the Lord Krishna, Lord at the time of death, and thus attain the salvation from the material life. So it was his bliss, his grace, they attained the salvation. Therefore, the Lord is all good, and whatever he does for everyone's good. Apparently, it was for the victory of Arjuna, his intimate friend, but factually it was for the good of Arjuna's enemy. It's one side saying that it was the victory of Arjuna, other side, it was good for his enemy also. Such are the transcendental activities of the Lord, and whoever understands these also get the salvation after quitting this material body. It's very, very difficult to understand the activity of the Lord. That's why it is said in the Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter 9th verse that Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyakta deham punarjanma netima viti swajana. So whoever understands the transcendental appearance and activities of Lord Krishna after quitting this body, they never come to this material world. Okay, so that's why the Lord does no wrong in any circumstance because he is absolute, all good at all times. Then he says, Javahita pruta namukham niriksham swajanavadada muksha dosa buddhaya kumatim aha rada atma vidyaya yash charanarati paramasya tasya me astu. So when Arjuna was seemingly polluted by the ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering a transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. So this is the incident Bhismadev narrating about when Lord Arjuna was bewildered at the time Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. So Bhismadev is glorifying that. Says, Swanigamam apahya mat pratignam ratam adhikartum avapluto rathastah suta ratho charano abhyayachala gur harir ivahantum ibam gata uttariha. Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as lion goes to kill elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. So, before the battle of Mahabharat, Lord Krishna has taken a vow that he will not take any weapon. So, and Bhismadev came to know that okay, Lord Krishna has taken a vow, but he will force Lord Krishna to take a weapon. So on one day in the battlefield of Mahabharat, Bhismadev fought so vigorously that he has to take a weapon. That's what Prabhupada is writing in the purport, that the battle of Kurukshetra was fought on the military principle, but at the same time in sporting spirit, like a friend's fight with another friend. So Duryodhana criticized Bhismadev, alleging that he was reluctant to kill Arjuna because of parental affection. So when Bhismadev was insulted by Duryodhana, Kshatriya cannot tolerate insult on the principle of fighting. Bhismadev therefore promised that next day he would kill all Pandava with special weapon made for the purpose. So Duryodhana was satisfied and he kept the arrow with him to deliver the next day during the fight. So Bhismadev said that Bhismadev promised Duryodhana that he will kill all the Pandavas. He has 5 special arrows. So Duryodhana said, okay, give me those arrows, I'll keep in my custody. Okay, so the next day he will give back to Bhismadev during a fight. By tricks, Arjuna took the arrow from Duryodhana. So Lord Krishna, when he came to know about this thing, Lord Krishna reminded Arjuna that, you remember once you saved Duryodhana from Gandharva, at that time Duryodhana has given you promise. So has asked you to get a benediction. So at that time you said that, no, I'll ask the benediction when I want. So now you go to Duryodhana and ask the benediction. And Arjuna goes to Duryodhana and he said, Duryodhana asked Arjuna, Arjuna, how come you are coming in the night? If you want, I can give you whole kingdom in the Bhiksha. Arjuna said, no, I don't want kingdom. That I'll fight. He was thinking mentally, I'll fight and get it. But then Arjuna reminded him, once you have given me benediction, so can you please give me that benediction? So Duryodhana said, yes, 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 I am happy to give you that benediction. But then Duryodhana said, Arjuna told Duryodhana, give me those 5 arrows. And other side, uh, Krishna made a trick. Krishna made a trick and he sent Draupadi in the room of Bhismadev. When Draupadi entered, knocked the door, and when Draupadi entered, she offered obeisance. So what generally, elderly people, father or grandfather, what kind of benediction they offered to their Putravadu? Sobhagyavati Bhava. So, so Bhismadev had taken a vow that next day will kill all Pandava, but here, as soon as he saw Draupadi, he gave a benediction, Sobhagyavati Bhava. Now Bhismadev said, अरे मैंने तो प्रतिज्ञा लिया 5 पांडवों को मारने का और यहाँ पे मैंने benediction भी दे दिया सौभाग्यवती भव. Then he understood now there is some plan of Lord Krishna. This is a plan of Lord Krishna. Then Bhismadev thought, oh, no, Krishna has taken a vow that he will not take any weapon, but tomorrow I will fight in such a way that I will force Krishna to take a weapon. So that's what has happened there. So he fought in such a way that if Krishna would not have taken a weapon, Arjuna would have been died. So in the next day's fighting, Bhismadev fought so violently that both Arjuna and Krishna were in trouble. Arjuna was almost defeated. The situation was so tense that he was about to be killed by Bhismadev. The very next moment. At the time, Lord Krishna wanted to please his devotee Bhisma by keeping Bhisma's promise, which was more important than his promise. So of course, Krishna didn't require to break his promise, but to keep the promise of his devotee. Bhisma की promise रखने के लिए क्या किया? भगवान अपनी promise तोड़ दी. So Bhisma is remembering, just to keep my promise, okay, fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot and took up its wheel and ran towards me hurriedly. Okay. And seemingly he broke his own promise. He promised before the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra that he would remain without weapon and would not use strength for either party. But to protect Arjuna, he got down from the chariot, took up the wheel of the chariot and hurriedly rushed Bhismadev in angry mood. He dropped his covering cloth on the way, and out of great anger, he did not know that he had dropped it. Bhismadev at once gave up his weapon and stood up to be killed by Krishna, his beloved Lord. The fighting of the day was thus ended at that very moment, and Arjuna was saved. Of course, there was no possibility of Arjuna's death because the Lord himself was on the chariot. But because Bhismadev wanted to see Lord Krishna take up some weapon to save his friend, the Lord created this situation, making Arjuna's death appear imminent. But there was no such a situation. He stood before Bhismadev to show him that his promise was fulfilled, that he had taken up the wheel. So to keep the promise of his devotee, Lord can give up his promise. He says, Sita Visika Hato Visirana Damsha Kshataja Paripluta Atatai Nome Prasabam Abhi Sasara Madavadha Artham Sabhavatu Me Bhagwan Gatir Mukundha. So then say, may he, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead who awarded salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of wound dealt by my sharp arrow. His shield was scattered, his body was smeared with blood due to the wound. Yeah. So when Bhismadev was releasing the arrow to shoot on Arjuna, Krishna was in front. So sometimes the arrows were also piercing the body of Krishna and blood was coming out. So it's like, sensational. And Bhismadev is remembering that, on the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wound dealt by my sharp arrow. So Lord Krishna was becoming angry at Bhisma, but it was just out of love. And his shield was scattered and his body was smeared with the blood due to the wounds. So he's remembering what kind of Krishna is on the battlefield. Okay. Yeah, so the dealing of Lord Krishna and Bhismadev on the battlefield of Kurukshetra are interesting because the activities of Lord Sri Krishna appear to be partial to Arjuna and at the enmity with Bhisma. But factually, all this was specially meant to show the special favor to Bhismadev, the great devotee of Lord Krishna. The astounding feature of such a dealing is that devotee can please the Lord by playing the part of enemy. So Bhismadev also pleased Lord Krishna by playing the part of enemy. The Lord, being absolute, can accept service from his pure duty in the grab of enemy. Supreme Lord cannot have any enemy, nor can soul called enemy harm him because he is Achita or unconquerable. Lord cannot be conquered, Achita, but he still takes pleasure when his pure devotee beats him like an enemy or rebuke him for a superior position, although no one can superior to the Lord. These are some of the transcendental reciprocatory dealings of devotee with the Lord. Those who have no information of pure devotional service cannot penetrate into the mystery of such a dealings. Bhismadev played the part of valiant warrior and he purposely pierced the body of the Lord so that to the common eye it appeared that Lord was wounded. Actually, all this was to bewilder the non-devotees. Spiritual body cannot be wounded. That's what we discussed. Second chapter, verse number Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, verse number 24. Na, what is that verse? Nenam chindanti sastrani, nenam dhati pavaka, ne chenam kledyan tapi no sasyati maruta. Okay, so it's so nice, right? So Bhismadev is remembering that. Okay. Vijayaratha kutumba ata totre vritahaya rasmini tata shriye ksaniye bhagvati ratir astu me mumurshor yam iha nirikshya hata data swarupam. So at the moment of that, let my ultimate attraction be to see Krishna, personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with the sweep in his right hand, the bridle rope in his left, was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original form after death. Bhismadev is telling that okay, people might have acted as the enemy, but since they saw Krishna on the battlefield while leaving his body, okay, so sorry, they saw the Krishna on the battlefield, they have attained the salvation, original form after death. So Bhismadev is focusing on that form of Lord Krishna. Then he says that Lalita Gati Vilasa Valguhasa Pranaya Nirikshana Kalipito Rumanha Utam Anukrutvataya Unmada Andaha Prakrutim Aghana Kila Yasya Gopa Vadva. So let my mind fix upon Lord Krishna, whose motion and smiles of love attract the damsels of Brajdham. Now, he's remembering the pastime of Vrindavan. So, attract the damsel of Brajdham. The damsel imitated the characteristic movement of the Lord after his disappearance from the Rasa dance. Bhismadev is remembering that Lila also. Then he says, Muni Gana Nrupavaraya Sankule Anta Sadasi Yudhishthira Rajasuya Esam Aranam Upapeda Ikshaniyo Mamadrusa Gochara Esa Avir Atma says at the Rajasuya Yajna performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world. The royal and learned orders. In that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality. So he remembered that Agra Puja, this pastime comes in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Rajasuya Yajna was about to perform, so who will be the offered Agra Puja, first worship? So everyone suggested, then Krishna at that time, Sisupal became angry. Sisupal started abusing Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna was counting. When he abused Lord Krishna continuously for 100 times, he killed him. Then Bhismadev remembered this happened during my presence. And I remembered the incidents in order to keep my mind upon Lord Krishna. So Bhismadev is remembering all those past times so that he can remember Krishna. His mind is engaged in remembering Krishna, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So he's trying to remember. Okay. So then he says, Tam imam aham ajam sarira bhajam rudhi dishtitam atmakalpitanam prati trusam eva neka Tharakam ekam samadhi gato asmi viduta beda moha. So now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the conception of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, in the hearts of mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. Okay, sometimes sun. So now Bhismadev is focusing on the form of Lord Krishna. And he says, okay, so Sutta Uvacha Krishtam eva bhagvati मनोवाग दृष्टि वृत्ति भी आत्मा आत्मा अन्य आत्मना आवेश्य स्वंत श्वास uparamata. Goswami said, thus Bhismadev merged himself in the super soul, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and action. Thus he becomes silent and his breathing stopped. This is the glorious departure of Bhismadev. Okay. So, yes. So the stage attained by Bhismadev while quitting his material body is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because he merged himself into the thinking of Lord and his mind into remembering his different activities. He chanted the glories of the Lord. So we saw, right, how he is remembering different activities of Lord Krishna. So, and by his sight, he began to see the Lord personally present before him. Thus, all his activities become concentrated upon the Lord without deviation. And this is the highest stage of perfection, and it is possible for everyone to attain this stage by the practice of devotional service. If you want to attain this stage, then we have to perform devotional service. Okay. Okay, so devotional service of the Lord consists 9, you know that, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakita, Atmanivedan. So any one of them or all of them are equally competent to award the desired result, but they require to be practiced persistently under the guidance of expert devotee of the Lord. So, if you are not able to perform all 9, and even if you are able to perform one, that is sufficient to award you the destination given here. Okay. First item, hearing, is the most important item of all, and therefore hearing of the Bhagavad Gita and later or Srimad Bhagavatam is essential for the serious candidate who want to attain the stage of Bhismadev at the end. Unique situation at the Bhismadev's time of death can be attained even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. His word of the Bhagavad Gita or those of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical with the Lord. So that's what we saw, right? Idam Bhagavatam Namam Puranam Brahma Samitam. In the Kali Yuga, the Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of Lord Krishna, 1.3.2040. Sorry, yeah. They are sound incarnation of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Bhismadev, was one of the 8 Vasus. Every man or animal must die at the certain stage of life, but one who dies like Bhismadev attain the perfection, and one who dies forced by the law of material nature dies like an animal. That is the difference between man and animal. Human form of life is specially meant for dying like a Bhismadev. So Bhagavatam teach you art of living, Living. Bhagavatam also teach you art of living, Leaving. Living, रहना और living, छोड़ना, दोनों सिखाता है. So this was the glorious departure of Bhismadev. Okay. So Tanya said, Sampadyamanam agnaya Bhismam Brahmani niskale sarve bhavu vasu yatushnim tvaya jivadinat atyaye. Knowing that Bhismadev has merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there become silent like a bird at the end of the day. Okay, so then in the next, Tatra Dundubhayo Nedur Deva Manav Vaditaha Sasmasu Sadavo Ragnam Khatapetu Puspavas Rushtayo. Thereafter, both the man and demigod sounded drums in the honor. Honest, the royal order commenced demonstration of honor and respect. From the sky fell shower of flower. तस्य निर्हरणादीनि संपरे तस्य भार्गय युधिष्ठिरः कारयित्वा मुहूर्तं दुःखितो भवत्. O descendant of Bhrigu, Sonak, means now Sudha Goswami is telling to Sonak Rishi that after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhismadev, Maharaj Yudhishthir was momentarily overtaken with the grief. Okay. So from here onwards, we'll discuss tomorrow. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.